Let me report on this. Jeff Flake was for... Jeff Flake is somebody that we've been for. Jeff Flake is one of the guys who's the best on the economy. Jeff Flake is a friend. Jeff Flake is a guy I supported for to be the senator. I fought for Jeff. And all of a sudden, he is for comprehensive immigration reform. We have him on. He doesn't make any sense. We're like, Jeff, you're misguided. You're misguided. Well, let me give you a couple of new details. Now he has flip-flopped on gun control. Now Jeff is suddenly for gun control. And he says he's doing it because maybe he can get a better deal on the internet tax, that maybe they won't pass the internet tax. If he gives in on guns, then we won't get the internet tax. I'll take the damn internet tax over you taking my guns. So I said this morning in a meeting, I said, call Matt Kibbe. I want to know, because FreedomWorks has always been behind Jeff Flake. Find out where Jeff Flake is. What is happening to him? Let me get the opinion of FreedomWorks. Well, here's why FreedomWorks has credibility. I just got this note from Matt Kibbe, and I wrote back to him. I said, can I use this on the air? And he said, go for it. I'm about to take off on an airplane, so I can't be on the air with you. Don't forget, Jeff also voted for cloture on the internet tax bill, claiming he wanted to not be an obstructionist. The vote on the rule is everything in the Senate. Once they got to 60, there was no chance of stopping final passage. So he effectively voted for that massive power grab, even though Harry Reid skipped the committee process and brought the rule to the Senate floor without any notice. None of these guys had any idea what they were even voting for. I'm sorry to say, I think Jeff has gotten in with a bad crowd, and he's spending too much time with John McCain and Lindsey Graham. I think we've lost. Wow. I think we've lost Jeff Flake.
That's a powerful statement from
FreedomWorks.
From FreedomWorks.
It's
FreedomWorks.
May.
It's May, and they love this guy.
Yeah.
I love this guy.
Oh, jeez.
That's
powerful,
unfortunate.
powerful people. When you can turn a guy like Jeff Flake this quickly,
4.5 months.
4.5 months, they're powerful.
Jeez.
I am calling a friend of mine who happens to be LDS. He happens to be a member of my faith. And the members of the Utah Republicans have suddenly decided that they don't think they should do firesides anymore. Well, what are firesides? In my faith, Sunday night is a time you bring an expert into the church, and they'll talk about whatever it is. They'll talk about faith in their job. They'll talk whatever the topic is. And the Republicans in Utah, and Utah, you should pay attention to this. They've suddenly decided that it would be best, because it's too controversial. It'd be best if they just didn't speak at firesides anymore. I'm calling my LDS friends, from Utah that are in Washington, D.C., and telling them, you better stand up against this. You're going to lose your soul. And here's why. I give talks at the firesides. And, you don't talk necessarily about political stuff. And every time I go into a church and I speak, whether it's my church or another church, I know whose time I'm on. I'm not on my time. I'm on God's time. And every time I give a talk, that's when I realize, am I off course? Because I have to reset. I have to make sure. I have to look up at the stars and see, okay, have I drifted? Because I'm saying this now in church on God's time. It keeps you centered. They know that. I swear to you, they know that. And so that's why they're suddenly saying, we shouldn't talk in church. It is powerful evil that is going on. You can lose these guys in a heartbeat. And you know what? It's not them anyway. It's us. I asked for somebody to explain to me Jeff Flake. Jeff Flake's a friend, a guy that I've respected for a long time, and a guy who, we said you should vote for in Nevada.
Arizona, yeah.
Or in Arizona. I'm sorry, I was thinking about Harry Reid. And said you should vote for him. He's been in office now as a senator for 5 months, and he has just voted cloture for the internet tax in the Senate. And he said because he didn't want to be an obstructionist. But once that happens, he knows the procedures. He's been in Washington long enough. Once that happens, it's almost impossible to stop it. So he, in effect, voted for this internet tax, which makes no sense. Now he says that he is willing to give up. I love this. He's willing to give up his position on his gun stance if they'll negotiate on the internet tax. Are you out of your mind? He also is part of this gang of 8 for the border. And so I wrote this morning to FreedomWorks, and I said, because they watch, a lot closer than I do. I said, what happened? What happened to Jeff Flake? And here is the credibility of FreedomWorks, because I believe they spent some money getting this guy in office.
Mm-hmm.
They really worked hard.
They supported him hard.
Supported him. In fact, we should have known. My gosh, I just thought of this. Do you remember when we went down to Arizona and I did a rally?
Yeah.
And it was a Get Out the Vote rally.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff Flake didn't show up at it. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
He was supposed to. And he said, well, it was really late and I had some other plans. I had some other things I had to do. And everybody was saying, all around me, everybody was saying, Glenn, the guy comes to this. This is big. There are 10,000 people here. You come to this one. And I said, no, cut him some slack. He's a man of honor. He's probably, my gosh, we should have seen it coming then.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even show up to accept the support that FreedomWorks was giving he and others. He didn't show up at it. Now he gets into office and he's turning into a nightmare. And much to the credit of FreedomWorks, I called him today and I said, so what's happening with Jeff Flake? And Matt was getting onto a plane, so he couldn't come on the air. And I wrote him right back after he wrote me some stuff. And I said, can I read this on the air? And he's like, absolutely. Go ahead. And I said, what's happening? And basically what he wrote was, I think the guy is hanging out with really bad people. I think he got in there and he is now under the thumb of really bad people because this stuff doesn't make any sense. You got to pray for our congressmen. You have to pray for our congressmen. You have to let them know. If you're in Arizona, I'd let Jeff Flake's office know. We're praying for you, Jeff. We're praying that you don't lose your soul and become another one of these guys. Now, maybe you don't. I don't believe this. You've been in Washington long enough. Here's what always happens. They told me if I just play ball, I could get onto this committee. And if I'm on the, whatever it is, the finance committee, then I have some real power.
Then I can really make a difference. But
by then your hands are so bloody that you've lost your way.
Mm.
Yeah, but it's foolish, Glenn. It's foolish not to do those things because I'd be pissing all that power away. Yeah, it would be foolish. And I believe it's stated someplace that the foolish will confound the wise. Maybe you should continue to be foolish instead of so wise. I want to start the hour with a possible correction, or at least benefit of the doubt at this point. Yesterday, we told you that there were words going around that Jeff Flake looked like he was willing to change his vote on Manchin Toomey because of the internet sales tax. We had some pretty good sources on that one, but he says that's absolutely not true. And I want to read what his press person said. Give him the benefit of the doubt because Jeff Flake is a friend. I like him. I mean, it's not like we go golfing, but mainly because the golf course, there's no time. You can't get a tee time because the president's got it locked up all the time. But it's not like, we're buddies, but I know him. I respect him. I was for him in his election, and I think he has been very, very good as a congressman. He's one that we really hoped would go in and change the tone of the Senate and be able to stand. Now, I don't know if he's hanging around, Lindsey Graham and the likes of, him and John McCain, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know what happened to him. But Jeff Flake's press person said this yesterday. Senator Flake, Mr. Beck, Senator Flake has not changed his position on the Manchin Toomey amendment. He remains opposed to it after voting against it last month. His position on background checks has not changed. There seems to be some confusion in the blogosphere, particularly that Senator Flake would be willing to reverse his vote on Manchin Toomey in exchange for no internet sales tax. This is flatly untrue. The substance of this claim involves two separate bills, and they are no way relate to one another. Senator Flake is not willing to make any concessions on the Manchin-Toomey amendment. He voted against it and voted instead for the Grassley-Cruz amendment. He wrote a short Facebook post about it last night. Quote, "It was reported by some media outlets today," I think that's me, "that I am changing my vote on Manchin-Toomey and that somehow I'm linking this to a vote on the internet sales tax."
We just reported other reports. That was not our original report.
Neither is true. I am not changing my vote on Manchin-Toomey. I voted against it. I voted against the internet sales tax as well. There is no connection between these two votes. We have to get Jeff on. Now, Jeff was on a couple of weeks ago, and we hit him pretty hard because all of a sudden, and maybe it's not all of a sudden, maybe I just was foolish, but all of a sudden he is, I don't know, he's wearing a sombrero, and he's like, hey, why don't we just bring everybody? I mean, it's odd.
He's in the Gang of Eight.
He's in the Gang of Eight, and I think the Gang of Eight has a sombrero shoved someplace that we can't see right now.
Hat choice is really part of the bill, but
I think we all understand.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So we should get him on because we were tough, but he had the, he was willing to come on. Mm-hmm. And he spoke, from his heart, and it was a good conversation. Tough, but a good conversation. So I'd like to hear his position on this firsthand. Maybe we can have him on tomorrow and we can get to the bottom of it. Here's the thing. If we're not tough on these guys when they possibly start to lose their place, when they start to, go towards Lindsey Graham and John McCain, we lose them, and then they're there forever. And we have to help them keep their souls, quite honestly. So we'll lovingly reach out to him and lovingly ask him some questions. Because we don't want to lose him, because he is a great, great advocate. He has a great history, and we'd like to see that continue, and we'd like to help those who are good. We just want to make sure that we're not supporting anybody who has gone astray. Okay.